Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology,
of it.
Technology, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
Connector Show. I'm Rob Genovese, and I am the co-host of the Master Connector Show. We're hoping you join us every single week here because we're always bringing you good conversations with people who are making things happen. These are people who are paving the way. They're making things happen. They're shaking things up. They are being the light for people. They're inspiring people to do greater things. And I can't wait to introduce our guest today because this guy has done some things. But before I get to that, I just want to talk to you a little bit about what the Master Connector Show is about. This is about lighting the way for people. This is about inspiring people. This is about raising people up so you can be the best version of yourself that you can be. Steve Spiro and I, my co-host, he is the Master Connector, and he and I come from kind of the same place, two introverted guys, two former shy guys who couldn't talk to people really in any legitimate way, let alone do business or network with people. But we learned how to do that. And we learned that through a lot of self-development, through some great mentors, and through honestly getting out there and sheerly grinding it out and doing what needs to be done to level up so you can make things happen. So help me welcome to the Master Connector Show, the Master Connector himself, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
What's going on, Rob G? Yeah, we've had some kind of journey, that's for sure. But it's great knowing you for 27 years, and just appreciate you big time, my friend. Yeah, absolutely. What's going on, friend? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. Got a little something in the chest here going on, so hopefully my voice, God willing, will keep steady here, and I'll do the best I can. But one of our pillars of the show is overcoming obstacles and challenges and having the grit. And I'm going to have the grit and go through this, and that's good. But it's a blessing, and it's a labor of love. It's not anything that I have to fight through, so to speak. The only thing I'm fighting through is trying to keep my voice clear. But hey, listen, I want to talk about goals today. And you saw some of the posts, right? What good is a goal without a plan? It's like a ship without a navigation system, or your car. Imagine trying to drive your car these days to a place you don't know without GPS. It's like, how? A ship may have a destination, but reaching it becomes uncertain and challenging. And I've heard that if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to like where you end up, right? And imagine a ship, again, it's just wandering. It's just, I kind of said this the other day. It's like you become a wandering generality if you don't have not only a goal, but a plan in place, right? Well, while setting goals, providing a sense of direction and purpose, a well thought out plan is essential to translating aspirations into actionable steps. Yeah, I know we all hear about the SMART goals, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit today. Again, I don't have them memorized, but anyway, it's great. But we want to get actionable steps. We want something that can help us achieve on a day-to-day basis. And I heard my mentor said, hey, you take your macro goal, the big goal, you break it down, and you break it down, and you break it down, and you break it down into daily goals, into things, maybe in hourly goals, right? That's the plan that becomes in place, right? But without a detailed roadmap, goals remain abstract and they become dreams rather than achievable objectives. I heard a dream. A goal without a plan is like a wish, right? It's just a dream, right? You got to have a plan in place. The solid plan outlines the specific tasks, timelines, and resources required to attain each goal, turning intentions into a structured path forward. In essence, the synergy of goal setting and strategic planning empowers individuals and organizations to navigate the complexities of the journeys and increase their likelihood of success, successful outcomes. So the gentleman we're going to hear from today, this guy is no joke. He's a multiple multiple champion and MMA martial artist like myself, and just a true champion warrior through and through. So we're excited. So if you're ready, and by the way, before we do this, I just want to say, appreciate everyone getting on here very much. So Johnny, good to have you on here, sir. Yep, there it is. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny's always got my back. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Thank you, Johnny. If you haven't connected with Johnny, you need to connect with Johnny. He's a good dude. He likes to be called Melendez, so let's call him Melendez. But we appreciate everyone being on here, and it's exciting. Make sure you show your love, comment, share, tell us what city and state you're from. Tell us, we this is a Master Connector show, so you want to get in there and connect with each other. So if you're in the comments and you're active, people know you're there. We know you're there. We just don't want to see a number. We want to know, we want to see who's on with us, right? So Yolanda, thank you, Yolanda, for getting on with us here. We appreciate you big time, more than you know. And Yolanda, the next time you're in the New York area, we got to meet. Maybe Rob and I we'd love to meet you. I know you got to meet Cameron, but I feel left out. I didn't get the blessing of being able to meet you, but I appreciate you being on here. And again, if you have questions, not just comments, questions, make sure you get in the comments, and we want to hear them, and we're going to address them as much as possible. Last week was a little tough because I was flying solo last week. Rob was where he needed to be with family, but it's now there's two of us, so we can navigate this a little bit better. So we want to get to your questions, but please, if you're ready, I want you to put in the comments right now. And good to see you, Robbie G. Put in the comments right now. Let's go, and we'll get things rolling here.
All right. Good stuff, Steve. I am definitely excited about this week's guest. And again, make sure you're tuning in every week. Make sure you're following the Master Connector Show on LinkedIn. Follow that page. Check out our website, which is masterconnector.show, to see upcoming guests that we have coming. Steve, as the Master Connector, is always bringing us really great and interesting people to talk to. And today is no different. We have John Rankin. Now, John Rankin's goal, listen to this, is to help over 415,000 veterans on LinkedIn in their sales careers increase their income by at least 30%. John is a CEO. He's a leadership and mindset coach. He's a sales trainer and speaker. This guy is unbelievable. He's a U.S. Army veteran. So appreciate you, John, so much for your service. He's a 6-time MMA world champion. Okay. I'm glad I'm on Zoom, because if I say something wrong, I wouldn't even know what hit me. John probably moves so fast. But John's got a couple of companies. John's company's first one, Southwestern Consulting, is unique. He has a team of sales practitioners, meaning they're all top sales producers first and professional trainers second. His other company, Sales Platoon, focuses on leveraging and translating highly skilled, resilient, dedicated, adaptive, and disciplined men and women from active duty to a career that aligns well. So respected, so respectable in what he's doing. Please welcome to the show, Mr. John Rankin. Come on, John.
Thanks for having me, guys. And Rob, I will pay you to follow me everywhere and do that introduction. What a great job, dude. I was like, who's he talking about?
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have him as a co-host. He's mine. You can't have him, all right? He's mine.
I'll fight you for him, Steve.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
that I'd like to see. That would be good.
Listen, I didn't make
now.
listen, I would love to just roll around with you, but I'm not getting in a cage with you. That's for sure. No doubt about it. But anyway, good stuff. Well, we're going to get things rolling here. And like Rob said, we appreciate your service. Big, both of us are big supporters of the men and women that serve our country. So thank you for that. Besides your martial arts training, obviously that's, that, you can make a difference, but are you significant? And I believe being a military, there's significance there and really what you do. But yeah, but we're gonna dive in here, and we want to talk about vision. So community, type in #vision. So here's the question: what's the key to forging a deep connection between your daily action and the long-term vision for your life?
That is great question. I think for me, that all boils down to purpose. If what you want to accomplish over the long term is rooted in your purpose as a person first, then you can break that down into actionable steps that can happen day after day after day. But it all has to start with that purpose and knowing who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. whatever that is. I lost you.
I'm muted there. All right. Rookie mistake here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And, there's a great book. Simon Sinek wrote a book, Start With Why. You got to know why. You got to have I like to call it sort of your North Star. I put together, some of the community knows, I put together a life's mission statement, which becomes that overarching purpose and mission of mine, which in this case, the way I wrote it, I'm gonna take it until my last breath. And this way, unfortunately, if you're dealing with like an accomplishment, right? Like some of the things that we talk about on a bucket list, right? I'm gonna climb Kilimanjaro or whatever it is, right? That's great. But once you accomplish it, now what, right?
Now
if you have a purpose, right? That's, to me, that's what keeps you going and keeps me coming on a show like this, even though I probably would rather be in bed because of how I'm feeling, but I got a purpose. I got a mission,
Yeah.
And I know,
and it's so funny because in the military, we have a word for this. It's not called purpose. It's called commander's intent. And it's the overarching reason why you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever that mission is, there's a commander's intent that tells you why you're doing what you're doing. And we needed a commander's intent in our life.
Yeah, no doubt.
I like that. I've never heard that before, commander's intent. But I got to let the audience know, John, Steve just kind of slid it in there, this metaphor about summiting Mount Kilimanjaro. John did that, okay? John actually did that, which I don't know why, but I guess, everybody's got their why they do things. I just saw something, saw a show, and it was talking about summiting Kilimanjaro and Everest and the likes. And I can't imagine the amount of preparation that goes into that. The risk involved is high, but you're obviously not a man who's afraid of risk. You're obviously, from your military days, about preparation. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
So it's kind of funny that we're talking about goal setting and mission and vision, because that's kind of why Kilimanjaro happened for me. I retired from professional fighting and some of the other things I was doing. And just like an athlete or just like somebody in the military, when you lose that part of your life, you kind of go through an identity crisis. Like, who am I now? And I was sitting on a bed in Fort Benning, Georgia, at a class called the Comprehensive Soldier Fitness class, which is all about mental skill sets. And they were talking about goal setting, and they're like, well, what are you going to do? And I was sitting on the bed, and my phone alerted me, and it was Groupon, if anybody still uses Groupon. And it was climb the most dangerous mountain in Africa. And I went, I'm going to do that. And so, and that was it. It was literally that I happened to be in that class about goal setting and vision. And now that my career was over, where do I go from here? And that came up. And so that's where I went, and that's what I wanted to do. And so I went.
John got a discount for climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. That's why he went.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There was no discount, I promise you. The first time I went, I actually got sick at 17,500 feet-ish, somewhere in there. And I ended up going back in 2016 and doing it successfully. So,
wow. Well, congrats on that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy, but we respect it. And, sometimes, listen, you got to challenge yourself. And sometimes just in that challenge of yourself, you have, it shapes you and it gives you the ability. It's not always just a physical. A lot of times it's mental, right? And I've heard, in light of that, and we're talking mountains and goals, I've heard that when it's harder to climb a mountain, especially when you can't see the peak, because you lose that sense of vision, if you will.
Yeah.
And so you have to really push yourself super hard. So it's kind of is relevant climbing Kilimanjaro here in that conversation, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what we're talking about here, in terms of goals and vision.
There's another piece to it too, and why goal setting and vision and mission and mindset is so important, which is that your brain will quit long before your body will. Like, your physical body can manage so much stress and so much physical challenge that our brain will quit long before our body ever does. And so when you're on those mountains, if your mind is not strong, whether those are mountains in your business or whether they're physical mountains, if your mind's not right, you'll actually quit before you hit your goal.
That's so true. So true. Well, listen, in relationship to quitting, a lot of times what I find that helps us or kind of facilitates quitting often is distractions. So
Yeah.
community, type in hashtag distractions. So here's my question to you, right? Because we're talking about distractions. It could be social media, it could be family challenges, it could be, whatever. I mean, job situation stuff, whatever it is. Here's the question, John. All right. So community, type in hashtag distractions. In a world full of distractions, how do you craft a solid plan that ensures your goals are not just wishful thinking?
Yeah. So again, going back to military experience, you have to become singularly focused. You have to train your mind to shut off everything except for the goal, except for the commander's intent. Think about if you're in a cage fighting, which you don't have to do this in real life to get the analogy. If I'm looking at the crowd instead of my opponent, I'm probably going to get my teeth knocked out. You don't have time to be distracted in the cage or in combat.
Right.
And truthfully, you don't have time to be distracted in your business or your family. You have to stay focused. And the way that you stay focused is understanding who you are and what your mission is, and then aligning your daily activity with those two things so it keeps you going in the direction that you're supposed to go.
Love that. Yeah.
But,
What other things? Okay, Rob, you go.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Rob.
I gotta clarify something here because John, people may go, well, but listen, John, you were in the military. You were conditioned that way. You were an MM fighter. You were conditioned that way. I'm
Right.
just a regular guy who's running a little old business. I don't really know how to eliminate those distractions. And it's, I would imagine a guy like yourself, John, you're just like, well, suck it up, man, and just stop it. Like just kind of, but while that may be true, what can the average person do to really eliminate distractions?
So I will say, suck it up and stop it, right? There's an old Paul Newman video. He's like screaming at that girl, stop it, right? It's a real funny video. You should go watch it. But there's some practical, non-military, non-in-your-face ways to do that, right? And the biggest thing is to connect with your mission that is so big that you don't afford yourself distractions.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
Okay. That's huge right there. And I know, honestly, I've had to learn a lot of this stuff too. What you just said, John, right there has helped me really focus. And I talk a lot about focus. When I discovered my purpose, my mission, oh man, the road was clear.
Yeah.
And the things that were not important, just they were like blurs on the sidelines to me.
Yeah. I mean, listen, most of the people probably watching are parents with children, right? So let me use a really extreme example. Your spouse is about to give birth and you're in the hospital with your spouse and your buddy calls. Do you answer the phone? No. Your company calls. There's a $100,000 deal falling through. Do you answer your phone? You shouldn't. Right? In that moment, what's coming is so much better than what's distracting you that you should be solely focused on that.
Great example.
And all the women should be amening me. If you're not, you're losing out on an opportunity.
Speaking of that, we just want to remind people, the audience listening, put in the comments some questions for John. Today's topic is really, talking about what good is a goal without a plan? Because look, we're in January, mid-January, right? Everybody's got their goals set and but are they making plans? So put your questions in the comments for John. Maybe we can get to a couple of those. We really want you engaged here because this is a guy who has done things in a successful way that the average person has not. We're talking about many areas of discipline. We're talking about the military. We're talking about MMA. We're talking about summiting Kilimanjaro. We're talking about business, sales. Okay, so tap this guy's brain because I know I want to. So anyway, back to the show, Steve.
No, you're good. And I appreciate that. And one of the things I want to comment on what you were saying before, John and Rob, and Rob and I shared the same mentor for many years. And he said, listen, Steve, what's the difference between, point A and point B? What's the, no, that's not what he said. Actually, I'm blanking on what he said. He said, how do you get from point A to point B? Right. He said, you draw a line, right? There's a straight line here, right?
Mhm.
And and the challenge is a lot of times if we allow ourselves to get distracted, a lot of times we're taking us if bottom here is point A, point A and point B is here, which is your goals. Straight line would be smart to get there as quick as possible, but many times we do something that's off target, and we keep going off. And just like the story of, I think it's the Andrew Doria, might be the Titanic as well. I don't know if that's true, but the compass was a slightly off, and as they just kept going, they kept going further and further. And of course, in the case of the Andrew Doria, it hit an iceberg and sunk, right? So you gotta make sure that you're looking at. He said, is what you're about to do taking you straight to your goal, or is it taking you off course? So, but anyway, on the topic of goals, we want to.
I'll say this too. Very rarely is the shortest path to your destination the right path. Yeah. Very rarely. Anybody who's done land navigation will tell you that the shortest path between starting point and ending point is rarely going to work, because there's mountains and swamps and all kinds of obstacles in your way. And so being able to recorrect azimuth or direction, to be able to look at a map and go, okay, this might be the shortest route. There's a funny show. It's a survivor show. And they dropped them off in Alaska, and none of them were military. And they're like, hey, shortest route is over this mountain. That mountain was 13,000 feet tall. And I was laughing. I was like, these people have no clue what they've just done. And halfway up, half of them quit, because even though that was the shortest route, it was the most difficult route. They could have skirted it, added a couple of miles, and been there 2 days prior.
It's amazing. That's crazy. That's a great story. So I want to talk about goals. So community, type in #goals. I know that's the purpose of our show today, right? So, and you're kind of talking about this just now, right? When we're faced with setbacks, what strategies keep you consistently moving towards your goals, no matter what the challenges are?
Yeah. So statistically, 80% of people have already given up on their New Year's goals. Just statistically, that might not be the people listening to the show, but, and there's a couple of things that happen when we don't achieve our goals. Number one, I would say that we probably haven't set a goal that means enough to us. Because if it really means enough to us, we don't quit the first failure. I've had things on my goal board, on my vision board, that were literally on there for 10 years. And last year, I finally accomplished it. Wow. And it's because it was deeply rooted in me that every year that I didn't accomplish it, it just pissed me off more. And I wanted to do it even more. And so first is about desire. But second is about being grounded in reality. Like, nothing in life works the way we think it's going to work. And when you talk about like optimistic thinking versus pessimistic thinking, I always ask people if they're pessimistic. I'm like, well, what good does that really do you? So your view might actually be more accurate of what's happening, but you feel like crap thinking that way. I'd rather be optimistic and fail and try again than be pessimistic and go, well, I was right, but I still feel like crap.
Well,
so
let me ask you something, John. Let me ask you, because you said something that I don't know if people are catching this. You just attained a goal that you set 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you set the goal, how long did you think it was going to take you to achieve it?
Oh, I thought I was going to do it that year.
Okay. So audience, John set a goal. For 1 year, he's going to achieve this goal. It took him 10 years. John, why did you pursue for 10 years?
So it was Calcio Storico in Italy, which is an event where they combine MMA, football, soccer, all into one event. So when I set that goal,
I saw an episode on that. Yeah. That's crazy sport. Crazy.
Yeah. So when I set that goal, I didn't know that you had to be in Italy to buy the tickets, that they sell out within minutes, that it only happens once. I didn't know any of that when I set that goal. I saw it on some show, and I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to that. And it took me 9 years, almost 10 years to do it. But I wanted to do it. It was something that I wanted, and it was something deeply connected in me. And so every year when it didn't happen, I just kept going. I just put it back on my board.
Yeah.
And I do that with all my goals. Unless I come to a place where I realize it's not really what I wanted. Because there's things I've taken off because I'm like, man, I put this on here, but I really don't actually want this.
Right.
Because we all grow, we mature, we learn. And so there are things that will fall off, but there's other things that don't. And this is where it's really important to know yourself, to connect inwardly and to understand what it is that's motivating you and driving you. And if it's important to you, keep putting it on your list. Don't give up. And you don't have to be a fighter to think this way, but come hell or high water, I'm going to do it.
Right. It's awesome. I heard this. I heard it. My mentor said, if you don't quit, you win. Right. If you just keep, just keep going. And by the way, if you haven't seen that sport, it's insane. Like literally, I mean, if you think sometimes the NFL gets a little aggressive, they got pads on. If you think sometimes it gets a little physical under the boards in basketball, these guys are no pads, kicking people, punching in the head. I mean, it seems like there's like no rules. It's insane. It's an insane sport. But that's awesome, John. Much respect. Much respect. But anyway,
it's pretty insane.
It is.
It
is.
And right. I was this way when I was fighting. And whoever's listening today, you need to develop this in your business and in your personal life. And you don't have to be a fighter to do this. But everybody who fought me knew that there was only one way to beat me. You had to knock me out or you had to submit me. And I wasn't going to tap if it was a choke. You would choke me unconscious. And I literally, every fight I had, it to me, in my mind, I was fighting until I was incapable of fighting anymore. And that's the way I approach my goal sets. I am going to do this whether you kill me or not.
That is, listen, I mean, not that I'm the greatest businessman in the world, but Steve and I had some similar mentors who had similar mindsets. And I think what you just said right there, for everybody's listening, you're in business. Maybe you didn't achieve something. I've never been a fighter. I've never been in a fight in my life. I don't know what that's like. I've never been in the military. I've never done any of that stuff. There's one thing I did learn along the way is there is no quit. You don't lose, like to Steve's point, you only lose when you quit. And the persistence to endure discomfort, lack of sleep, whatever it may be, you have to just, right? What you say earlier, just stop it, like just cut it out, right? And go through
Everybody should go watch that video, by the way.
To be honest, a lot of people are a little soft. They go, "Oh, I've been doing this for 6 months, John, and it's not working in my business, so forget it." Like, what?
If you look at us through the perspective of an international perspective, okay? So put yourself in China, put yourself in Israel, put yourself in the Middle East. Those countries do not have the freedom to attain wealth like we do.
Right.
And yet there are people that are attaining wealth in those countries. If you're in Israel, where you're constantly worried about how life is going to shake out because of mortars and bombs, you still have to build a life. You still have to build a business and take care of your family. If you're in China, where it's a communist regime and they literally are a dictatorship that doesn't allow you to build a business, and you still build a business.
Yeah.
We have no trials in America that we can't endure. Look at the world stage and what those businessmen and those businesswomen have to go through.
Yeah.
Stop being a pansy and get it done.
There you go. That's the quote of the day. Don't be a pansy, get it done. And if you're offended by that, get perspective. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're running out of time here, John. We want to make sure we stick to time, because we could literally talk for hours.
I could talk for hours about this.
I'm sure. So what we're going to do is, we know that, thank you for bringing all this great stuff, because it really is stuff people need to hear. But I know you have an offer, something for the audience.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things that I do, if you're watching this show today and as a friend and guest of Steve's show, I'll come in and I'll do a free training for you guys, either virtually or in person, for you and your team on mindset and how to apply that to business and sales. You just have to reach out to me. I'm sure Steve's got a way that he sends out my contact info, or you can connect with me through the show itself on LinkedIn, and I'll come in and I'll do free mindset training for you.
Wow, that is awesome. Thank you so much, John. Listen, audience, follow John on LinkedIn. I mean, because listen, he's a followable guy, right? Figuratively and literally. So follow John on LinkedIn. Take advantage of that offer, because that's going to be something that most people need to hear in order to further their business. Appreciate that, John.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. So we really, just again, thank you so much. You brought the heat. Really appreciate you, John. We're going to ask you to go into the green room for a little bit. And
Sure.
we appreciate you. Make sure to connect with John for sure. John, we'll connect again. All right. Well, that was awesome. Well, Rob, I mean, it's just what a man, what a guy, huh? Incredible. But all right. Well, listen, I want to just thank everybody here for coming on. We appreciate you big time. By the way, if you haven't picked up my book, make sure to pick up the Tao of a Master Connector. We appreciate the support. It's been great. It's available now on Audible as well. But thank you, Rob, for that. But yeah, we're excited. Next week's show, at the episode, Rob G is going to be doing flying solo. I'm flying to Punta Cana for a week of R&R. But but
how about that audience? Steve gets to go to Punta Cana, and I get to stay here in freezing New York.
Well, I appreciate you big time, but anyway, but thank you. But yeah, it's been a great stuff. But this week's going to be Mr. Steve Sims. So you got another Steve going to be showing up. So at least they got a Steve coming in, but grabbing attention through clarity. So next week, same time, same channel, January 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern EST. So make sure you join us. But we're just excited. We appreciate you. Listen, it's the tough world right now. And again, thank you everybody for being on here. We appreciate all the support and some great comments. I didn't get to call out some of these comments, but Melendez, talking about, or Marcus, I love what you said, tap or nap, Yolanda, starve your distractions or feed your focus. I love that. Melendez with the mic drop. Don't be a pansy, right? So good stuff, but we appreciate you big time. And again, make sure, listen, we were talking about some serious stuff, but here, make sure get out there, make sure to be a blessing to other people, look to add value, look to uplift people. Listen, you don't have to tear other people's buildings down to make your building look taller. If a rising tide raises all ships, let's uplift people. Let's make sure that we're encouraging them. And again, make sure, we'll see you next week. Make sure to be the light.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives